Welcome to the Tao of Pizza, where we feature top logistics leaders, entrepreneurs, and supply chain innovators and share their inspiring stories with a holistic twist.
Mark Hiddleson here, host of the Tao of Pizza podcast, where I talk with top industry innovators in the warehousing, logistics, and supply chain business with a holistic twist. Now, before I introduce today's guest, this episode is brought to you by Specialized Storage Solutions, Inc. Now, listen, I've spent decades building warehouse systems that actually work. And after conversations with clients and peers at Manifest in Las Vegas, one thing's clear. Innovation only matters when it shows up on the warehouse floor. At Specialized Storage Solutions, we provide industry-leading warehouse storage solutions nationwide. If you have a facility that needs racking, shelving, carts, conveyors, or mezzanines, we help across the full life cycle: design, engineering, installation, inspections, and repairs, all focused on real throughput, real people, and real constraints. And here's something many folks don't realize: we also offer permanent acquisition services. Yes, we handle the red tape so you don't have to. We take a holistic view of your entire supply chain ecosystem, blending physical infrastructure with modern thinking around automation, flow, and adaptability to help our clients continuously improve, not just install and move on. To learn more, visit our website or give us a call. And just for podcast listeners, I'll even give you my personal email, markhiddleson@aol.com. Yes, I still use AOL, and yes, I'm proud of it. If you're ready to design warehouse systems built for where the industry is going, not just where it's been, drop us a line. Now, today, we're joined by Danielle Spinelli, known across the industry as the Fraud Girl. And trust me, that's a title you want on your side. Danielle is the host of the Tell Me Everything podcast, where she pulls back the curtain on fraud, carrier vetting, and the realities of modern logistics. With over a decade in transportation, including 8 years as a carrier sales broker, she's been in the trenches, building carrier relationships, navigating compliance, and spotting red flags before they become costly problems. Today, Danielle brings that experience to GenLogs as their director of partnerships, where she helps brokers and shippers properly vet carriers and protect their operations from fraud. She's also a member of the TIA Cargo Theft Task Force and was honored as a 2024 Women in Logistics Award recipient. Recognition well-deserved for someone who turns complexity into clarity and risk into readiness. If you care about trust, transparency, and protecting the supply chain, you're about to learn a lot. Danielle, welcome to the Tao of Pizza.
Hey, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, so I love, share a little bit more about your podcast. When I found out it was Tell Me Everything, I was shocked to learn it was about freight and logistics.
Well, I know it's funny. So the idea kind of came up not this manifest, last year's manifest. I was there and, walking in being like, oh yeah, I know logistics. Like I know all the things. Walked in and I'm like, wow, I don't know anything because it's such a huge conference and there's so many different areas of the supply chain. And so that's kind of where the idea came from, was Tell Me Everything. And I wanted to know all the different things about logistics. And then I do Fraud Girl Fridays, which is kind of like where I have all my knowledge on things. So I can share that part of it with the industry on Fridays. But on Tuesday, I get to learn. So that's kind of my 2 little episodes within my podcast. But yeah.
Awesome. And hosting a podcast I started about 3 or 4 years ago. And I had no idea, like I had learned from watching podcasts, but I've learned so much from hosting.
Yeah.
It's a benefit that, I started a podcast to connect with like my top 200 clients, referral partners, in a way to give them a contribution. But it's amazing how much I've learned. So what's something you've learned that you had no idea, like a Satori aha moment from the podcast?
Honestly, I've learned so much, just different people in the different industries. So I did one with Julie Davis, and she does trade compliance and international supply chain. And she was teaching me all the fraud and thefts that they deal with on like trade compliance, and like where like fake companies will start up and buy product or they'll return fake product, and just like all of that complexity. And I'm only in my like over the road stuff, and that's kind of all the things that I see. So I learned a lot there. And then I just did an episode with Overhaul, and they were teaching me about how in Europe, that's kind of the next thing that they're thinking cargo theft's going to hit is them, because most of the bad actors are over there. And so kind of like sleeper cell, feel like that's going to happen over there. So like projecting that to be hit next. They're starting to see early signs of it. So crazy. But, on top of that, outside of like the cargo theft stuff, which is the stuff that I love the most, but just I love talking to different, like, logistics or industry specialists and just learning like, how do they become successful? How are they continuing to have success and keep building? That's helped me just in my own career growth. So it's been pretty cool.
Awesome. So,
Yeah.
so tell us a little bit about like where you're from, your background, and what led to getting in the logistics business.
So born and raised in Minnesota. We got to go all the way back.
Yeah, let's
No,
get
but
back.
perfect. And so, born and raised in Minnesota. My parents moved me down here when I in Georgia now, when I was middle of high school, so 15, 16, and just kind of loved it ever since. I don't have to deal with winters, so it's amazing. And started off in telecommunication, and I was in a call center and in sales there. One of my girlfriends was like, "Hey," after like 10 years of working there, they were like, "Hey, come over to the logistics side. You'll make a lot more money." And little did I know, a lot less sleep. And so I just moved over to being a broker. Started off with postal work. That literally keeps you up all the time. And during peak season or November, December, you literally don't sleep and you work, 90 hours a week. It's insane. Right after my first peak season, pretty much I left and then went to a new brokerage, and I specialized in copper and electrical wire. So I did a lot of like high value freight, which is what led me to needing to be really good at carrier vetting, because I had some thefts. Like a lot of it was straight thefts, like somebody would go to a truck stop and held by gunpoint, unfortunately, and that type of stuff. But then kind of as the world has shifted, kind of after 2020, we saw a lot more of the fraudulent guys and the guys being very deceptive, or strategic theft, they call it. So really had to learn a lot from there. And then one of the programs we were using was My Carrier Portal. So came on board on the tech side and was able to do a lot of education and speaking there, and help that product a lot. And then just recently, like just announced, moved over to GenLogs. So being able to take that even a step further with helping with cargo theft.
Awesome. So career in sales. I had a similar when I was in college, I was like mowing lawns and stuff. And then I did this interview to sell magazines over the phone.
Oh yeah.
It was a script. And I was just like, they gave you a script. I'm like, I can read the script and I could dial a phone super dial. It was just a numbers game, right? It's like,
Yeah.
how many calls? And one thing I learned there, and that a lot of people didn't get this, is you wanted the objections. Like people would run through the script so they're like, oh, if they get objections, it's going to slow me down. It's like, no, that's where the
Yeah.
meat is because
That's the fun part.
yeah, and that's where
Yeah.
you really find out, and that's where really I didn't do that very long because like talk about hour. I mean, you just get tired and people hanging up on you and stuff.
Oh, I'm sure.
But you do I learned sales, and it's just like I was going into engineering and everything, and I'm like, I want to do something that involves sales because I like this. Great. So if you work for a broker, you're calling a lot of people. Right? Like we get calls all the time.
Yeah.
From there's one company that's famous for it is a TQL.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They're also posted all over the load board. Don't call the carriers say don't call me if you're TQL. But no, they're a big company and I'm sure they're great. I never worked for them, but yeah, it's fun being a broker because you definitely the sales side of it, it's super fast paced sales. So it's a little bit different. Like I think of sales as like an art form. So like being a broker, you got to be super quick and churn and burn and, know as soon as it's going to be a no and move on to the next call. But, it's fun. So those objections are, especially whenever you're desperate for a driver and you're like giving up your firstborn to have them pick up a load for you. You become really good at overcoming objections.
Yeah. So share a little bit about how, like, what differentiates, because I have somebody called Tammy at B2B, and she's like the best of the best. And we've been like it. I'm a relationship person, so like you get going. And we've had people that were terrible, and like they don't get the right contact information, they don't follow up. It's
Yeah.
tell me, like what differentiates a service level for somebody who's great at that?
I think the biggest thing is just like you mentioned, having that relationship first, and then also being full transparency. Like if something does happen, I mean, it's trucking. Things do happen all the time. Bad stuff happens all the time.
Yeah.
It's if you're being honest and forward about it, and not just trying to hide it. And like, hopefully they don't notice when we'll make delivery and stuff like that. It makes a big difference when you're actually dealing with a crisis and kind of having your shipper involved. And then just that relationship piece of it where, I'm not just a number and you're not just a number. I actually have a good relationship with you. I care about your freight. And also it kind of shows you like, if I care about you, I'm going to care more about your business too. And vice versa. So I think that's, key really in any part of the industry. So.
Yeah. Especially with the new tech that's coming out. I was at Manifest with the client. Well, I like to go with my clients because I get their perspective. They run a warehouse. So our clients, usually run warehouses. We do a lot and they have trucks. I mean, the thing is everything's connected to everything. That's what you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
Your podcast, it's the freight, it affects the 3PLs because they're the ones checking compliance. Yeah. And then what happens with the truck comes up, it's got, and I learned this at Manifest, a truck can pull up with the right stickers, the right license plate, the driver's ID passes everything, and it's the wrong truck. So is that one of the evolving patterns? When I looked at your podcast website, it was like, these are the evolving patterns of fraud. I mean, I just thought it was people making mistakes, like not checking.
No, well, and that happens too, but it is where these guys are getting really sophisticated. And as like, especially for high value freight, those shippers and manufacturers, like they are checking everything. So you have to meet all, cross all the T's, dot all the I's. And so they are checking everything. And so a lot of times what they'll miss is like VIN level information. So like, for instance, when I worked at my Gear Portal, we did a lot of VIN verification. So it's a lot of times the VIN is where you can really get the real information on that truck and who does it actually belong to. And things like that. And fake CDLs and stuff like that happen all the time. But nowadays, like I worked with the California Highway Patrol, and as long as that face matches a CDL, you at least have a face and they can do facial recognition to try to find them. But most of the time, unfortunately, like once a load actually gets stolen, it like a lot of times it's gone with the wind. So having additional pieces where you have like pallet tracking or, even like how GenLogs has like their cameras everywhere and you can kind of search things up. That's certain ways that you can try to find and make recoveries, but unfortunately recoveries it's a very small percentage that, actually get recovered. But
so share a little bit about the GenLogs camera system, because I just learned about that at Manifest, and then you were sharing a little bit before the interview. So
it's so funny. I honestly I nerd out over anything new with like that helps prevent cargo theft. Like, so I saw them like 2 years ago. And it was just whenever they were starting to come up, and they just started their network of cameras, and it was mainly in the Southeast. I'm like, well, this isn't expand far enough. Like, wait till you guys get bigger, then I'll start promoting your product, just like my customers. And so then last year they've been able to like really make a huge network, make a huge difference in their network. And so then I got them to integrate on the partnership side with my Care Portal. So now we can see like that insight in a carrier vetting to be like, have they actually been seen on the road? Because that's kind of the biggest thing. Like they can actually act like they have a truck, or they can go through inspections and have like a, rental Penske truck or whatever and do the inspection. But do they really have a real truck? Like, is this really a person? And so GenLogs can see all of that and see them on the roads, which is huge. So not only that, like on a prevention of cargo theft, but they even use that for like capacity and stuff like that and trying to build your network out. And that way, like, hey, I'm calling carriers that actually have trucks and they're not just like DAT rats, for instance. So I know it's pretty cool. It's cool to be a part of something that I think is really like next level on being able to actually make a difference and stop cargo theft, because that's really where my passion's at. So.
Yeah, I can tell, and that's why you're the fraud girl. You get to know purpose about saying, "Are you really the fraud girl?" And you're like,
"I know." Yeah. It's so not like fraud. Somebody was like, "You should be called the anti-fraud girl." I'm like, it's not as catchy.
It isn't.
I know. But that's essentially what it is. It's not, I'm not committing fraud. I'm trying to stop fraud. But and it's like,
funny. She stole the whole choo-choo train at one time.
Yeah. It's funny because Scott Cornell, he's with now he's with Logistic, but he was with Travelers for many years. He's kind of like the head honcho. I call him the king of cargo theft because he knows all the stuff. He's so funny because he's like, it's not necessarily fraud all the time. It's more cargo theft. I'm like, well, cargo theft girl doesn't sound as interesting as fraud girl either. So.
And it still sounds like you're stealing cigarettes off the back of the truck.
Exactly.
I like the fraud girl and the tell me everything because that's a kid. What was Scott's last name?
Cornell. Yeah, I'll have to do an introduction. He's awesome. You would love him. He's amazing.
Yeah, and anytime I do show notes with the podcast, so anytime we mention someone, I like to put their LinkedIn, at least put their LinkedIn and then the company. So we'll make sure we give Scott a shout out. So there was a couple other so what are share some ideas about broken processes, outdated assumptions, and hard truths about this business? Because I think That's kind of where the tell me everything comes in, because people don't want to tell you. That's the other thing about objections in sales. People don't want to tell you where all the dead bodies are buried.
Totally.
So
Yeah. And there's a lot of outdated processes out there, period. I mean, like with,
yeah,
and I'll just, I guess, focus on like the cargo theft stuff because that's just
yeah,
kind of like my niche.
yeah,
But on that front, like let's say they have no inspections. That's been a big thing for a long time where they said, hey, if they have no inspections, that means they're not legitimate. Kind of like I just mentioned, they're renting Penske trucks and driving through a station or trying to get inspected. So a lot of times whenever we come out with something, and especially whenever we post it all on LinkedIn and be like, hey, this is how you vet a carrier and this is your yes or no answer, then they learn that and they're like, okay, well, we'll adapt to do this and that. So there's a lot of different layers I think that need to come into place. But I really think the biggest thing that most of us are messing up on in the industry is relying heavily on tech and thinking that tech's going to solve everything. And it's not. Like it, nobody has a silver bullet. If they did, we wouldn't have cargo theft. We still deal with it. It's actually growing since we've had more, tech out there. So I think tech's not going to save us, and people that think that is crazy. I think it needs to take human, intervention, human talking to them, building a relationship. That piece of it is so essential. Tech's there to enhance it, make it faster, bring out more red flags than what you can see as a human. But you have to have that human, piece in it woven in. Even though we're moving fast, even though we're trying to move freight out the door and not think about anything else, you got to pause and be like, okay, let me call this driver and see if he sounds legit. I mean, that makes such a difference, and can't even tell you how many times that's helped me whenever I was a rep, like actually prevent theft. So,
yeah. So broken
yeah.
processes is just not following even the paper. That's one of the things I believe too about uh, automation is just going to magnify. Like if you have systems that don't work, if you have processes, virtually you don't have the right people and you don't have the right
Yeah,
processes, the tech is just going to exponentially like
totally.
expose it and
Yeah.
multiply, amplify it. Uh, and so building those systems, even, and I know a lot of our, and it's high stress, high movement. We have customers that have 30, 50 docked orders and they're doing 10 or more trucks a day, every day at each
Right.
door. So, how, when you're in the developing partnerships with GenLogs, what kind of partners, what kind of relationships are you looking to build?
Really, we're working with other tech partners, which is super fun because being able to share data, like either they have data that our customers could use, or we have data. Most of the time, it's that GenLogs has data that everybody else wants because they're the newest and shiniest thing, I think. But mutual customers being able to see that, like where they actually live at, because a lot of times they don't actually go into like another UI or another website. They're like living in their TMS or living in their vetting solution or whatever. And so that's kind of mainly what I'm doing is that piece of it, like how will customers actually use the product, and then how can we make that be like a fortified fortress of information where you have so many different angles. Because I think another big thing too that's going on in the industry is some people are so siloed in their own tech and they can't think about outside of their own thing. They think they're the best and they're the only solution out there, and you're not. Like I said, nobody has a silver bullet. So it really takes all the different vetting platforms and all the different technologies to work together to make that fortress.
All right. So I have some, I was hoping I could do this and you segued right into it. So
Good.
I learned some things that manifest, me. So I'm like, I've been in this industry for 30 years. So like when you said you thought you know everything, I always go
Yeah.
in thinking I know everything. I'm always like, wow, I completely
Right.
like, they were talking about things like tech stack. And I was like, well, isn't tech stack like the 10 laptops that I've had over the course of my career? It's my tech stack. They're right here. But
Oh, that's
it's
funny.
WMS, TMS, ERP, all those systems. And then, like you said, people get siloed or they serve that. They're the TMS expert or they're WMS expert, and then their
Hmm.
solution touches everything because it has to, but there is no one size fits all
Right.
solution. So I met a couple. I want to ask you if have you heard of Gnosis?
Nope.
GNOSIS. So they followed up with me after Manifest, and their company is they have information about your freight. If you say you're doing, theirs was container, it's container lifecycle management. And I was kept
Hmm.
saying it's container lifestyle management. No, container lifestyle management.
This container goes out to the bars. This container is out. It's this
So
lifestyle.
that's
That's funny.
container lifestyle management 101. But they can track, and they said now, if your container's on the water, if it's with Maersk, then you have to go to the Maersk website and you can paste like 1,000 pro numbers in there, tracking numbers, and it tracks it. But then once it gets to the
Mm,
port, that's a separate system. And then once it goes from the port, gets transloaded, onto a truck or everything, and that's a separate portal. But they have
yeah,
access to all of them. So you can just put your shipment into theirs, and then it gives you tracking data on all of it. If it's at the port, it has it. If it's with Maersk, it has it. So I
that's
thought
cool.
that was really interesting. And then the other one, have you heard of Augie? Was the
Is it augment the AI?
yeah, Go Augment, and Augie is their
Yeah,
AI agent. Did you see? I thought
yeah,
that one was really cool.
really cool.
Yeah,
Augment's really cool. I'm excited to see where they really go because so they got a lot of funding, like I think it's Series B funding recently. And so it'd be interesting where they're at like in a year from now because they already have really cool tech, but like in a year from now, I think it's going to be like, you know, next level. And now I am big on like AI, like, like I said, I don't think humans should be taken out. I'm big on AI and tech helping us, not that, but I think even they have the mindset of it will be interacting with humans and not just replacing. So that's where I'm at with AI anyways. It needs to be where they work copacetically.
yeah. So where are some of the so do you deal at all with trans? I can't even think of the. What am I trying to say? Um, Transload, like rail cars, containers going on rail. Do you do a lot with that? Are you familiar with that market too, or you
So,
just
I did a ride along with the California Highway Patrol, their cargo theft task force. So it's
uh-huh.
like two dudes that handle all of Southern Cal, and part of it is the whole Mojave Desert. And so they do a lot of the rail stuff. They work with the rail police. So they took me out like in the middle of the desert and showed me all the different like each step had like broken seals everywhere on the rail, and then on the side of it was empty boxes everywhere, like you name it, like hookahs, Milwaukee, or IOB, like you name it, whatever type of freight. There's just empty boxes literally everywhere, and this is in the middle of nowhere. And so that was kind of my first time being exposed to the rail side of things. And knowing like, oh, this actually is a huge problem for cargo theft. Like I had no idea. So just starting to learn about everything. I don't know. I'm definitely not an expert. And unfortunately, I feel like rail, they try to hide a lot of things too, because they want people to keep using it.
Yeah.
So, I'm trying to dig in, but there's a lot of information that's not given out. So
So a question that I'm going to get asked on a podcast, or it's a live cast actually on Friday, is how is automation and AI affecting the intermodal? Intermodal is the word.
oh,
That's
intermodal. Yeah.
the word.
That's the word.
Yeah, it's not trans. I knew it had something. Transloading, I guess, is what I call when you're loading from like a container to a truck,
Yeah.
or from a ship onto a truck, or from. Anyways, that's why I was stuck. But yeah, intermodal. How's AI in that affecting not just the intermodal, but how they interact with like the actual warehouses?
Oh, interesting. I guess it would mainly be like even having something automatically read what's coming in instead of having somebody, jot down. Cause now they have cameras that can like zoom in on the seal number and they can zoom in on all these things and just having that automatically flow into check in instead of somebody standing there checking everything in. I think I guess that's number one thing I can think of. Probably the easiest thing to add tech to.
Well, and it seems like just as a country boy logic, it seems like it's easier to automate that with cameras or readers or scanner because it trains like a giant conveyor belt to where a
Right.
highway, it's like you could have on ramps, off ramps, trees,
Yeah.
like all this other lanes blocked by other stuff. So it
Yeah.
seems like that mode would be easier. And the one
I
thing,
know
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say I know the BNSF, the rail police guys, so they have like AI cameras. So in the middle of the desert, so like if they see a door open and fling it open, it will alert their security team to go find that car to see if it's had stolen freight. So I know that's already a thing. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, by the way.
No, it's my job to keep my mouth.
No, you're
So,
good.
do you have any mistakes like that even the tell me every I want this is the tell me everything episode or any big mistakes you've learned from over the years in your career,
On the podcast, being a
or
host,
just
or just in
anything? I
general?
mean, well, the tell me everything is the thing. So like, would you willing
Yeah.
to share any things like where you learned, like you made a huge mistake and then learned something later?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I learned, and this is kind of early on in, I guess, life and career, is thinking that my competitor was my enemy and like not being friends with them. I think that was probably my biggest mistake that I learned. And then shortly thereafter, like either they changed jobs or I changed jobs. And then we were like literally almost working hand in hand, not same company, but hand in hand. And still they had that stigma on me and like, oh, I don't like her because of this.
No.
You just never know who ends up where. So luckily I did learn that on like early on in my, early 20s, beginning of my career and everything. But that was something that it still sticks with me today, is like, you never know who's going to work where and when. And people like the relationship piece on every part of business is so big. And I really think, like I tell my kids all the time, my daughter's a smarty pants, and I'm like, only your brains can like get you so far, but the people that you know can get you further. So
Hey,
yeah.
that is brilliant. That is brilliant. And I had a boss early. I was lucky, the mentors I've had, that I had a boss that told me early on, take this guy out to coffee. I'm like, not taking that guy out to coffee. He's like, this guy.
Yeah.
So that's the Clark guy, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it was brilliant. Most of those guys were older than me, so I learned a lot. And they were everybody. You'd be surprised how much people will teach you. And I mean, I do it now. I have
Totally.
younger guys call me. I call them, teaching them. My wife's like, "You're teaching them all the secrets of the trade." I'm like, "Well, somebody taught me," and it's like
Right.
they're more likely to collaborate with me. Like I learned. I have my master's degree in holistic health education. Like 20 years ago, I was going to be a life coach, but then I was just decided I'm just going to use this for my own benefit.
Yeah.
One of the things was collaboration over competition is just like, that's
Mhm.
how nature works. That's how
Right.
relationship. And it's really played out because as my business has grown, we have a lot of wholesale relationships. So the people who were competitors 20 years ago, they're clients now because they're buying from
Mm.
us because we have a lot of inventory that they can buy from, sell, and
Oh,
or people
cool.
specialize in different things, right? That's what you're talking about. Like you
Right.
need that. They're a piece of your puzzle. So what's a kind of an example, especially looking to the partnership, looking down the road with GenLogs? Who were some of the partners? Like what's an example of people collaborating with their tech stack to
Well, just yeah. So like where I just came from, my care portal, whenever I worked there, because that was kind of how I led into this partnership. Was I was technically sales in my care portal, but they didn't have a partnership person, so I wore that hat too. And so that's kind of, I guess, the carrier vetting piece is super easy to kind of integrate with. But I think on top of that, like kind of what I'm envisioning in my head on like what I think would be super cool and like to really nerd out over is like let's say like a macro point or a tracking, like P44 fork kites, whatever. When a tracking is going from A to B, like not only is it showing on like the little dots, like their ELD tracking or phone tracking, whatever, but then also showing an image of the truck. Like, hey, this is the picture from the side of the truck coinciding with the tracking. So you're like sending to your receiver or shipper, like, hey, this is the truck you're looking for. He's on track and it's verified. Like it's actually verified, not so like the prevention of kind of like you were talking about who shows up there at the dock and you're like checking everything and all that stuff. Well, this will kind of be your secondary piece to be like, okay, now after I give you the shipment, are you going to take all those placards off and change your identity completely? Because then you won't show up on GenLog's system. And so that's kind of a way to know, like red flag wise, is like right away, hey, I can't see this guy through GenLog's. Maybe this is a chameleon carrier, and now they're under a different identity. But that's kind of where I envision like where all the different types of tech can kind of come together. And it's like, it's really cool to think of like, okay, well, what else can we do to enhance this? Or like, their product's cool, but our stuff could do this and that to it. So it's, this is kind of like a perfect next step for me because it's, I'm not in sales anymore, which is very weird because I've been in sales for like 20 years, but now I'll be into a whole new role where it's like, how do we make the customer's experience be where you get full visit, like I said, building that fortress up with having all the visibility in one spot.
So other than fraud, what are some other
Yeah,
like systems? Just like the visibility part is huge in our,
huge.
especially as people keep inventories lower and lower. So share a little bit about why the visibility piece, like why that's so critical for.
Yeah, visibility and then even capacity too. Like thinking about where trucks are from A to B. And there's a lot of trucks that don't post on load boards or they're not, sharing where they are because they're kind of like the good old boys. They got their one shipper, they got their one broker, and that's who has been keeping them in business. Well, how do you get to those guys, right?
Yeah.
So this is kind of a way to do that. And then just going back to like a TMS, for instance. So like I book a shipment from A to B, and I assign this carrier to the load, and I'm about to send out a rate confirmation and kind of get them all set up for it. Well, then being able to also tie that into, hey, I also have this capacity here, and being able to like route plan it. There's just a ton you can do with having just full cameras everywhere. Like it's almost like surveillance. And it's so funny. My dad's a huge conspiracy theory guy. So he's like, I can't believe you're like working for the enemy with surveillance. I'm like, it's actually the future, but whatever, but he's like tinfoil hat. So that's,
well, I'm like your dad, and I have a tinfoil hat around here. But again, I don't want people spying on me. But then again, I run a business, and I don't want my stuff to get stolen.
Right.
I don't want my customer stuff to get stolen.
It's like the same thing as like a Ring camera, right? Like I don't want them inside my house, but I'm fine with them. I'm operating legitly, so I'm fine with you watching me go down the road. Yeah. I think the ones that do have issues with that, I'm like, well, what are you doing? That's making you have a red flag that I'm watching, or like I'm seeing you drive down the road. I mean, if you think about all the cameras that are out there, like governments that use this and street cameras, it's like, let's give that same technology to the private sector. And even what's interesting is like whenever I was working with the California Highway Patrol, and they're actually working on trying to find stolen freight while I was there. And they have to get a warrant to access that information. So they can't even really find a shipment in live time because they have so many red hoops that they have to jump through just to get to the government's, cameras everywhere. And then by that time, that freight is in another, somewhere on a port going overseas or wherever it's going, cross-docking here or there. And, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. So we're this flew by on the time of I'd like to ask some personal questions. So besides the Tell Me Everything podcast, what's your favorite podcast?
Let's think. I like the Armchair Attorney with Matthew Leffler. Love his. Matthew Leffler, he's a good friend of mine, but before he was a friend, I listened to his show, and I'm not the smartest person in the world. So whenever he, no way. No, this guy is so smart. Yeah. But it's fun because he'll like the tariff laws that just got reversed or whatever on Trump or whatever. He was breaking down to me like prior to the whole thing going down. He's like, if this actually happens, IEPA, I think it's called, if this actually goes through, like how much power this would give future presidents, and just because you like the tariffs and maybe you like Trump or whatever, how this can affect us long term. And so he kind of like dumbs everything down for me to actually get. So his is probably my favorite, as like being able to understand the world in my own way of understanding. So,
awesome. The Armchair Attorney. And what's the name?
His name is Matthew Leffler.
Matthew Leffler.
Yeah. So that's probably my favorite one I listen to. And then outside of logistics, I'm a good Joe Rogan fan. Like that's, I love Joe Rogan.
Yeah. And he's a conspiracy guy too, but he admits it. Like that's the thing.
I know.
Okay. I know this is because so many of them turn out to be true,
Oh my. Yeah. Like I said, my dad is a conspiracy theorist, and I'm like, so he's also a flat earther. So, and I'm not a flat earther. Let's just clarify that. But there's been so many things that he's proven right that I'm like, if one more thing's proven right, I guess there's a flat earth, like, dang it, being right.
Yeah. I've never been able to personally prove it wrong. I've gone halfway around the globe, but never all the way around. Yeah. And I've never gotten far the way to kind of look back and see.
Right.
Yeah. There's a lot of trust involved in that assumption, right?
Well, I always tell him, I'm like, well, what would be the purpose? And he's got this whole spiel, but it's funny.
Isn't that incredible? I think I'm happy that there's people out there that have great arguments to defend something.
Totally. Yeah. It makes it so we're not just so naive.
Yeah. I'm glad he said Joe Rogan. I mean, he's a great interviewer. He's he practices judo, and I've done a little bit of martial arts, and I'm like, the way he interviews, it's like judo, because he gives and he takes and he blends and he works with, it's he's evolved too. I love he's evolved. He's not as tough anymore. He doesn't really get people to like
totally
prove him totally wrong.
Right. Yeah, no, I love that too. And he's definitely one like I try to model my own podcast around too. Like I love the yin and yang talks that he has. It's not just one-sided. Because sometimes when you go to some shows and they're just like bombing them with questions, I'm like, this is an interview. This isn't a podcast. So I like it when it's like a conversation.
They're playing gotcha journalism, like get you to make a mistake or get you to trip up on your words. Yeah, that's what I try to do. I try to trip people up. I wasn't able to trip you up, Danielle.
Luckily, I do this. Luckily, I do this on the not for a living, but on the side, right? It's not so much work for a podcast. Like I didn't realize how much work a podcast is, but it's a lot of work.
It is. Here's one of the things. So uh, I didn't have time to watch podcasts 10 years ago, but I didn't know what
Yeah.
it was. I mean, I
Right.
was working with a coach. It was actually more in like fitness and lifestyle because I'm always trying to do something to stay young longer.
Mm-hmm.
And none of it's working, but I
Oh,
can still snow ski, I can still surf, I can still, but
yeah, that's awesome.
there were podcasts on. I'm like, podcast, schmodcast, but then I started looking, it's like, wow, really smart people asking the tough questions. You can learn something, could take you 10 years to learn. You could
Yeah.
hear it in a podcast. And then I started to see how you could connect with other people through a podcast
Hmm.
and just the relationships. And like I was a slow adopter to the tech part, but when everything got shut down, and I'm a people person, it's like I need to connect. I want to
Yeah.
share energy with other people, learn from them. And so I was working with another business coach and just telling him about my business, what we do, my expertise, because there's not a lot of people who have 30 year, like either if they do what we do, most people work for like a forklift company. Like if I think of my competitors, they sell forklifts and they do racking on the side. Well, I
Mm.
sell racking and do podcasts on the side.
Yeah.
But the
That's fun.
podcast is built around the relationships. And I've had some amazing clients. Like I look at my career, people are like, well, how'd you do it? And it's like, well, just have all these amazing people that I've worked with who've lifted me up.
Yeah.
It wasn't me. If it was up to me, well,
Totally.
yeah. So, yeah, the
That's
podcast.
cool.
So share, we got a few more minutes. What is a new tech that you're using right now? And then not like Chat
Hmm.
GPT or anything, or
I was gonna say that's
something
my.
that was that going to be?
I was probably gonna say ChatGPT, but new tech I'm using right now. I mean, I hate to say AI because you just said not ChatGPT, but there's so many different avenues of AI that I've been using. Like there's one that I'm kind of sort of trying to build my own AI, I guess. It's where you can like train it. It uses like OpenAI. I'll have to get the name for you because I can't even think of it at the top of my head, but I'm trying to train it to be like my own mom assistant. Like I'm a mom of three and they're all three in sports. And like I can't even tell you how many times where my kids are like, my game starts in 20 minutes. I'm like, shh, I gotta run out the door. And
You need
I'm
an
running.
autonomous vehicle.
I know. And I used to be really good at that. Like whenever my work wasn't so hectic. So like I need like a personal assistant and like a mom assistant, like a nanny, but not, a virtual nanny to like tell me all the things I need to do. Or like, hey, you need to buy this. And luckily I have the fridge that has like the camera, like you sync. So I'm trying to build it where like it syncs up with all that stuff. I don't know what the heck I'm doing, but I'm watching a lot of videos. So that's like my new tech that I want that they need to build that for me. But in the meantime, I'll try to figure it out myself.
So is it like a digital twin? I've got some people that they're talking about digital twins. Is that where it's like you build
Oh,
have you heard of the word digital twin? Like I had heard
no.
it until I talk. So it is kind of like what you're saying. And it's another good reason for the podcast because you can use information off the podcast for the data
Right.
to build the digital twin. So yeah, it's the
Interesting.
International Society of Service Innovation Professionals is something that I joined. It's free to join. And but it's kind of a bridge between academia and business, and so they're taking
Mm,
like, a lot of the leading research into people who are professors and uh, inventors and people, and that they also want to connect with business people who like people who are building stuff and shipping stuff.
interesting.
So
Yeah.
digital twin, I'd never heard of it, but they're working on, but it's similar to what you're
Yeah. I
doing.
mean,
So,
I would love to like have a second part of my brain, but like one that can focus and not be ADHD mind. But I want to be ADHD mind, and
yeah,
talk. Yeah.
yeah. A friend of mine wrote a book and it's really good. I wrote a book, took me 9 years. He wrote a book in like 6 months. I'm so jealous. Like it's really good. And he jumps around and everything. He was going to call it Barry's Babel, and he goes, I'm going to call now. I'm going to say, uh, hey, look, there goes a squirrel.
Look, squirrel.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's me. But like for me, it's just
Oh,
birds.
totally.
Like I'll be in the middle of a conversation, I'll go, oh, look at that hawk, and then and just like I kind of have the same
I
thing. Like,
love that.
yeah, we
I
can
think
bring.
most of us in the industry though are ADHD. Like I think the majority, like that's where we all have came from and we all end up there because we can like being in logistics or supply chain, you have to be multitasking like guru and that's comes with like being ADHD. So and we're all people most of the time, like a lot of us we play hard, but we, work hard, play harder type thing. A lot of us in the industry, or at least at conference, the ones that go to conferences are like that. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's
So
fun.
so share favorite conference besides Manifest. I mean, Manifest was off the chart. I'm interviewing Katie Date on Friday, and so
Fun.
That's gonna be fun. But what's another conference?
So honestly, I like the smaller ones. So like I work a lot with like TMS companies. So I like the ones that are TMS because they're very like their customer base is very intimate. So it's not like sales pitchy. They just are there to learn, but then you could learn from them. So I like that one. And then I'll pitch two other ones. One's the Cargo Net and Travelers. I always talk about cargo theft, but it's so good. It's in Monrovia, California, like usually in October every year. And it is like mind blow. I walk away learning so much. And usually I know most of the things about it, but that one I was like, couldn't write down fast enough different things. So that was a really good one. And then I also like TIA, just being on the brokerage side of things, the TIA conference, like their big annual one. It's super fun. Like the nightlife is the best. So
awesome.
And that's the most important part.
Yeah, it really is. We call it poolside logistics 101. We've always like the best conversations, the best relationships, everything starts either at the pool or the bar. And
yeah, totally.
If the pool has a bar.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, totally true. I think that's where, I mean, being in sales for so long too, that was like I didn't have to really attend the floor or be sitting at the booth all day long. I got just as many leads after hours, being best friends with them. And a lot of times I'd become good friends with somebody. And then like after we'd get back home, they'd be like, now what do you do? And I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I should tell you that.
Yeah. So. The people, one thing I've noticed about Manifest, people follow up. I mean, I forget, I think you followed up with me. You reached out on LinkedIn, or I forget, I'm pretty sure. And I wanted to follow up with you anyways, but there's a few. I've had the guys from Gnosis followed up. Then I had a few, so I'm really stoked about that. So what's the best way for people to get a hold of you? Where do you want them to go? Obviously your LinkedIn, we'll have that posted.
Yeah. I guess LinkedIn's probably the best.
LinkedIn. Yeah.
Yeah. LinkedIn. So either me or my Tell Me Everything page, either way, but kind of, or both actually, because I share most just podcasts on one thing. I try not to make it or my feeds just totally my podcast, but yeah, anything, reach out to me on LinkedIn, DM me. I got a lot of people messaging me on that. If you guys know of any fraud trends in your industry, hit me up because I'm here to learn. So.
Dynamite. I want to be the first to thank you, Danielle. This has been an absolute pleasure. I learned a ton, and thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thank you. It's been really fun.
Thanks for listening to the Tao of Pizza podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.